it's Michelle Anderson of Clarinet Mentors. Today I want to share with you one of my favorite tools for diagnosing a couple of major problems that you might have with your air and embouchure and you might not be aware of. It's a really quick, easy tool to use, and in the last 30 years I've been using this regularly with the many students I teach, and I find it's helpful for students of all levels. So what I want to show you is an unusual fingering, and it's a high register note. So we're going to use our thumb register key, our first two fingers, sort of like we're playing a high A, and then we're going to leave our third finger off the key on our left hand, and then we're going to add the first two fingers of our right hand. What this actually is an alternate fingering for your high G sharp that we would normally finger with this pinky key here. It's not a very great fingering. It doesn't respond very well. It's hard to play, but that makes it a fantastic embouchure diagnostic tool. So if all goes well, you should hear something that sounds a lot like a high G sharp. It'll feel a bit resistant, but it should sound more or less like a G sharp. So for you to do this, I actually need you to have your clarinet out ready to play and try this with me. What happens, because this note is so sensitive, it very often doesn't play well, and the way that it doesn't play well is a great key to you on something you might be able to do differently. So here's the two most common problems people have playing that note. This note will squeak really easily. So if you're trying this fingering out and you're getting a sound like this, that is a really revealing clue that you are probably putting too much pressure on the reed with your jaw. I just nickname that biting. And we bite for a variety of reasons. It's a habit people often fall into. And in fact, biting will give us a little bit of support that is effective in some ways, but it comes at a really high cost. It dampens the vibration of the reed. It makes your tone more muffled than it should be. You lose some of the beautiful sparkle and resonance that clarinet should have, and it interferes with your ability to play high notes freely and easily. So if you're hearing the squeak, it's a sign to open your jaw a bit, and even more importantly than that, if we think of the corners of our mouth actively wrapping around the mouthpiece, which is a really good embouchure habit, it tends to open our jaw up anyway. So if you get a squeak, really useful for you to know that you're probably a biter, and that's a habit you want to get rid of. Now sometimes when you get rid of the biting habit, you fall into the second problem that this note has, which I'm going to show you now. If you're trying to blow that note, and instead of hearing that high G sharp pitch, you're just getting a low undertone like this, that's a really common response also. And what that reveals is that your airstream is not fast enough to support good tone on the instrument. That's a really common problem with a lot of people. And again, what I've said in some of my other videos, I'll quickly sum up here. We want our air through the clarinet to be like a garden hose, where if we had a spray valve built into our body, we would set the nozzle not to be a fine misty spray, but the absolute smallest, tightest, fastest power wash setting. That's what we want our air to be like on clarinet. So instead of I would set that spray valve at if you're trying this note and you're getting the undertone, you need to give it more support from your airstream, and those muscles really come from down here in your belly button. One way to practice that is just to, while you're holding this fingering, try and huff little fast bursts of air through the instrument. So it's like I'm going to go while I'm doing that fingering. You don't even need to tongue for this. This isn't, your tone might not be great, but it's just a muscle training exercise for air. And then, if you get that to work, then you start increasing those huffs into more sustained bits of air. Now, as I said, it's unlikely that that fingering is ever going to show off your best tone, but if you can play it with good tone, it probably means your air and embouchure are set to play lots of other things. So what I often have my students do is get that note working really well and kind of freeze their mouth in that position, get to know what that feels like and what their air feels like moving that quickly and strongly, and then play whatever passage they're working on. It's a great tool if you're playing beautiful, slow, lyrical things in the high register, where we often tend to bite without realizing it. If you get your embouchure set using that embouchure diagnostic tool, and then play that high passage again, you'll probably find it a lot easier. That sums up our embouchure diagnostic tool. If you liked this video and found it helpful, I'd love to share some of my other Clarinet Mentors videos with you. The easiest way to do that is join the Clarinet Mentors online community, and you'll get immediate access to all kinds of free clarinet pointers. Simply do that by filling your name or going to the website address below, and there's a sign-up sheet, www.learnclarinetnow.com. Thanks for listening. Hope to see you on one of my other videos.